Merry Christmas, everyone. And really quickly, let's take a look at how my predicted United side can break down Leicester's team. So as you can see here, this is my predicted lineup. I mean, you could hope for maybe someone over McTominay or someone over Fred, but I think that Ole's probably going to go with this sort of a lineup with Greenwood and maybe, but for sure he's going to play Rashford, Martial, Bruno, unless they have an injury or an issue that they're dealing with. I think that this is a pretty strong lineup. Defensive wise, it's structured. I think it's well set up. It allows Sean Wan-Bissaka to get up a little bit and give us a width in this game. So we know that Leicester City are a team that like to sit back. At least they can play in numerous ways. But as we've seen many times this season, as against Liverpool, they like to sit back. Ndidi and Tielemans are important to that team. I would compare them Fred and McTominay, but they're actually gifted players. I mean, Fred and McTominay are great, but what I mean is they have better abilities on the ball, but are just doing this job for Leicester. Till Ndidi is solid and he is stuck here, but Tielemans has the ability to play as an 8 and go up a little bit. He's not a 6, Ndidi is a 6. And then of course you have Madison as a 10, who is attacking and dictating play. Madison's been on and off this season, in my opinion. He has the potential to be as good as a player like Jack Grealish. He just doesn't perform consistently in and out. Of course, you have Barnes and Albrighton. Of course, this could change with the signings Leicester have. Castagne and Justin. The thing is, these are also very defensive-minded fullbacks as well. I guess Justin gets up a little bit, but overall, they're gonna sit back. They have a back six. Most likely, they're gonna put almost everyone behind the ball and then just look for a counter, or they're just gonna defend with a six. Most likely, they're gonna go up with a four in possession or a five in possession. So I can show you here. So Madison, Barnes, Albrighton. Ndidi likes to dictate the game. He likes to find these defense splitting passes. Let's say to like Vardy. Of course, Tillemans will get in a position. The whole defense will spread out a little bit. Martial, no, kidding. But like, so we have this. Leicester are if they're in this sort of situation, right? You'll have Ndidi, of course you'll get the press going. You'll have like Ndidi trying to find a ball to someone. If not, they'll open up and play around. Leicester are a very intelligent team. They have tactics that are adaptable in position and tactics that suit them to play counter-attacking style. They're a pretty adaptable team. They play depending on the team. They play the way they do depending on the team they face. For example, if they face a team that is more structural and harder to break down, they'll definitely send more players forward in attack because Leicester do have quality and they have a natural finisher. So on the break, Vardy is really effective as he has that natural sense for finishing. So if you take a look in this sort of a formation, of course, Fred is gonna patrol this channel. McTominay is gonna patrol this channel here if they get the ball. What United need to do is they need to be structurally adapted. They need to keep this sort of a structure. What Leicester do really well is find passes through. They find passes through in behind lines. So we have to be wary of that. The players have to be aware. They have to cut out these passes. So if Bruno is going to push, he has to make sure he can't get it to Barnes. Greenwood will have to tug. Let's say if they pass it here and you get Bruno up here, even if Greenwood goes to Castagne, Wan-Bissaka will either have to push up. Overall, it depends on how many men we play behind the ball. I doubt we're gonna do too much. If our players aren't lazy and they work, I think against this sort of a side, especially how defensive and their line that they play isn't too high, we should be able to really pressure them. Of course, the problem is I don't think we're gonna press the whole game, unlike other teams, and that's all right, as long as we really limit their possession and limit their balls in behind and contain properly, we'll be fine. Of course, now for United in possession, I want to see a couple things happen. You'll see often Ndidi dropping into the center back position like a lot of CDMs do, and you'll see Tillemans taking this number 6 spot. Then you'll have Madison coming back here. Vardy never really defends, and then you have Barnes and Albrighton who might occasionally do something. So if let's say we're in this sort of a position, Albrighton and Barnes are going to be here, and we have the ball with Fred. Of course, the shape's going to look a little bit like this. Madison will drop off a little bit because he can defend during games when they need him to. And as you can see here, this is how Leicester can structurally defend. This is what they've done many times throughout the season. Their 4-2-3-1 can shift into a 3-4-3 when needed. This is what they've been doing this. This is a pattern this season. They have backlines with 5, backlines with 3, backlines with 4. So here, this is really pivotal. Our movement is key. If we attract Justin and Fofana onto Rashford, it creates space in this sort of an area. If Martial goes into this sort of an area and Madison covers here, look at this space we have in behind. It's up to Fred to find these sort of balls. One or two runs can completely break the side down, and we really have to look for that. Of course, they can be a little bit smarter. Like teams are starting to understand against Man City what they can do a little bit better. But I think that it's going to be mainly about getting the ball here, playing it quickly, moving, getting out wide. We have to manipulate the space. Even though Leicester don't give us too much, we have to make the most out of what we have. To score, it depends on the way Leicester come up. They're a very adaptable side. You never know. They could come out and they could just go crazy and press and go for the attack. But pressing hasn't really worked against us too much this season. Other than the occasional backline mistakes, we've been able to work through it and really get forward. And since we're a real big threat on the break and we have a good pressing side, I think that Leicester will indeed choose to step back a little bit. I think what makes this game like it did against Leeds is if McTominay or another player makes runs forward. In my opinion, this is important because it confuses defenders. If you have one guy just making a darting run through, it causes attention and it shifts a little bit. And if he continues to do this, they'll keep looking out for his run and get distracted by the players we have up top. I think that it's really important to be able to keep possession and really move this defense around. We need to create overloads on sides of the pitch and then switch it and really get that thing. Because if we get Rashford in space or Shaw in space, we can really get a good chance at goal. Now I want to talk about defensive structure. As I suggested earlier, I think that Fred needs to play a little bit of a defensive role. So if Shaw and Wan-Bissaka are up, which I doubt will happen at the same time, but if it does, you'll see Lindelof shifting, and I think we'll see either most likely we're going to see McTominay go there because that's what Ole thinks he can do. But I'd like to see Fred do this job and have McTominay shield. We'll see. It could go either way, but definitely they're going to be pretty close in the back line. What will most likely happen is if the ball is on this side and Shaw's up, you'll see Wan-Bissaka forming here. So you'll have a little back three. It needs to be well organized, and you'll have the two or just the one and someone up here. So if we keep this sort of a defensive structure, I think we can very well win the game, and I really hope for the best this one. Well, anyway.